Hi everyone, so I read chapter 5 of Skinner. So the first part of chapter 5 discusses about perceiver or receiver, and that's the name of the section. So pretty much I'm going to try to sum this up in my own words as best as possible. Skinner's a little wordy, so I want to try to tackle it. But so Skinner's view is basically that we act because basically from what we receive from the environment rather than like what the perceiver is like producing from something inward. That's what I got from it. So Skinner says that this is totally opposing to other behaviorists and what they believe. So he kind of a part he describes is about how light comes in from the environment, and that from that the person is able to receive a stimulus from their environment, and then we're able to respond from that. So this shows that the environment has always been like outside the body. We receive a lot of stuff from outside, and it stays there. It's not something that is from inside. Next section is the stimulus control of operant behavior. So this is talking about generalization. So pretty much things are generalized when a stimulus is present at the time when something is reinforced in that particular environment. So then once the stimulus is reinforced, it's all suddenly made into something that's controlled, and this is called discrimination. Another part that we talked about in this section is perception. It's affected by your experiences in the environment. There's a part that I was quite confused about. Skinner mentioned something about genetic endowment of species. I do not really understand what he meant by that. But I mean something with genes and just all that science about what makes you who you are. So if that can be explained, what Skinner meant by that, if you could fill me in, that'd be great. Another part which Skinner talked about perception is that actually let me talk about how does stimulus control happen. So he says that contingencies are responsible for stimulus control. So the how probable is it that this will occur in the future, that I will act this way in the future. That probability I'm getting what Skinner is trying to say is that probability is kind of like the stimulus control, like, so that percentage. So the stimulus that is highly like reinforced and therefore controlled kind of takes control over the response. So I guess he gives some really good examples about this. So one of them was a passenger who's familiar with a driving route, or who's not familiar with a driving route compared to the person actually driving. We experience this whenever we go on rides with people, our friends. The stimulus control is low for the passenger because they're not probably paying attention or able to predict like exits and stuff like that, because they're not giving their full attention to that. and when they, they're not in control of the vehicle, whereas the person driving, they're getting really familiar and reinforced by, navigating the correct way. So once the passengers turn to drive, they're not going to probably have that stimulus control like the driver has. So, I guess some examples he also gave were about chess. People who play chess more are able to predict the outcome of the game if they strategize the right way, and all that stuff that has to do with stimulus control. I could give more examples, but it's already been 5 minutes into the video, so I'll try to keep up a good pace. So next section is experience versus reality. Let me try to tackle this one. So this talks about difference between the physical and your mental world. And he talks a little bit about Plato and how he studied the mind. So this is Plato is questioning: could images be taken from nature, or is it? I guess what he was trying to say is it more mental? Can we take from the environment? Can we take from nature, or is everything just mental? So let me see. He was saying that people see different things when they have been exposed to different contingencies of reinforcement. So it just talks about how people are always picking up on different. You could say that you see this color, and everyone, maybe the majority of people agree that this is blue, but based on your reinforced, how you're reinforced about your response to that color. Maybe in the past, maybe someone will say it's green, so you might get some differences of responses. So that was experience versus reality. Next section is copy theory. So let's see. Oh yeah, this was pretty interesting. Skinner pretty much talks about how we hear things and we can feel different things, like a piece of paper, or this. We can hear things like the sound of an orchestra, and this produces an inner reproduction. But I guess he was questioning how is the inner reproduction, is it less of what actually is, in lack of better terms? So is there more to what we could actually perceive? That's how I picked up on it, than what we actually experience. I'll try to keep it as simple as possible. Next, the second to last section is seeing in the absence of the things seen. So, I really like this section. So, Skinner talked about that you recall what memories that are reinforcing. That was really interesting. When you go on a nice trip, like you were saying, Venice, you can recall an image to your mind, even though you're not actually seeing it, because you're not required to see it, because you've been so highly reinforced by it that it can come a copy to your memory. I thought that was incredible how he described that. He also said that you don't know. I mean, maybe animals can also do this. We can't get them to report it, but there's no reason why it's not effective with animals. That Claude Bernard actually quoted that. And let's see, I'm hitting 10 minutes, so I'll try to keep it around 12. Last point in that section was, seeing does not require a thing seen. So you can get copies of your environment into your head, so that you produce some sort of knowledge. Last section, mind and stimulus control. So, what was the word? The operization led to a process of discrimination and rather than just sensations. So because of that, we're able to see the world how it actually is in reality. Like, it's not just what I feel, it's more like it's maybe a little bit more objective. So you're no longer saying, like, I feel this, but it's actual, like, stimuli that, is real in the environment. So I'll get to my open-ended question now. So, do you think... I really like the part about the inner reproductions with sounds and touch. So my question might be, like, a little bit philosophical, but, like, how much can we, like, trust our senses if you're on the side, like, like, what we experience in our environment is kind of, like, less than, it's like an inner reproduction. It's a little bit less than what the actual, like, sound or, like, touch is like. So how much can we trust our senses if we're going along with that side of the argument? Can we trust them? Like, why not? Or, I guess, how, then, like, how does that explain, like, why we might perceive things differently? Like, maybe this goes along with that point, but, you know how sometimes people, like, miss certain sounds, or, like, we don't hear things? Like, is that an explanation for, like, the question of inner reproduction and sounds and touch, with sounds and touch? So that wrapped up the chapter. Hopefully, I hit all the points, but I'll read your posts in the discussion board. Thank you for listening.